Well, it's a question you've been asking yourself far too many times if you're a Bills fan at this point. What do you do from here? What happens next? Josh Allen, his big contract now about to really kick in. Where do they go from here? Well, let's get into it. They're currently projected to be $43 million over the salary cap. Now, they have a little bit of cash to work with, which what that means is if they spent $33 more million, they would have spent what the salary cap is, because again, cap space and cash a little bit different. The average team spends around 10 to 15 million over the salary cap in terms of cash. So a little bit of money to work with. You'll probably have to rework some deals to get cap compliant. But again, you don't necessarily have to cut guys to get cap compliant. You do have to cut guys to get enough cash to make things work. That's usually the key difference there, which is why I bring them both up. But okay, well, who do they have to go out and make sure they keep? These are the list of key free agents they have to sign, so guys that I feel like would be losses if they leave. Now, I don't know if any one of these guys in particular is like, oh my god, if you lost him, it'd be a disaster, but you see the number next to each person's name. This is how much they're projected to get in free agency in terms of millions of dollars. So, Gabe Davis projected for $12 million. This is either using Sports Track or PFF data, or my guess if there was none of those available. So that's the projections there. And again, there's players I like on this list. A lot of these players I think are quality players that are contributors, but at the same time for Buffalo, you might have to let some of these guys walk when you are in a tough spot. And again, the thing I always bring up is, okay, maybe you say, well, let's let Taylor Rapp go. Okay, fine, sure, that makes sense. But then you have to replace him with somebody, right? You have to get another guy in the building. So you need 53 guys at the end of the day, right? So that's what you have to do there. So just that's interesting. And also worth mentioning, these are not the only free agents. You look at this laundry list of other free agents upcoming who, again, you got to pay the replacement, right? If you don't keep these guys, you do have to go out and get other guys. You need 53. I don't know. Maybe you only pay 50 guys. Maybe you get a little, like what they do in hockey sometimes. I don't know. But I think you're going to go out and you're going to, get more players. Again, is losing Kyle Allen going to be a devastating blow for you? No. But if you lose him, you have to pay, somebody else. So even if you're only giving these guys, $1 million each, or their replacements $1 million each, you have to go out and make things happen. However, there are some players they could cut. And again, sometimes when I've done this in the past and people have kind of taken this the wrong way, I'm not saying these players should be cut or that I would cut them. I'm just saying if you're the GM and you're figuring out how you're going to make things work, these are the guys you put on the list of, okay, these are guys that we could, make a move from. Tre'Davious White is someone who now has serious injury issues, and while you'd only save $6 million, in theory, I would still say it's probably worth it to keep him, right? For $6 million, like the upside is still worth a $6 million, the $6 million you would save. At the same time, though, if you have to make some tough decisions, maybe this is a move. Mitch Morse, again, a player I'm not saying you're going out trying to get rid of or anything, but if you can save $9 million, it's an option on the table. And then, again, Deontay Hardy, Naheem Hines, and Ciaran Neal, those are guys which I could easily see them saying, hey, we can save $12 million getting rid of these guys and replacing them with, $1 million kind of journeymen. That might be a move. So I guess you'd save $9 million in that scenario. That might be a move for me personally. I think that's something you do look into right there. So again, there's ways they can try and save money. Of course, you can always look for a trade partner, right? Do you do you try and trade Von Miller and get someone to take on that contract? I don't know if you're getting someone to do that. Maybe you do a basketball trade where you give up draft capital to, make something like that happen. Maybe that's not the worst move in the world. But again, I think the one thing you do have to look at if you're a Bills fan and say, well, it's not like they're losing massive key pieces. And again, there's a couple guys that I didn't put on the list, like Rasul Douglas. They could save some money, but I don't think they'd want to cut Rasul Douglas, so I didn't even put him on the list. There's things like that. But the final chart here, the cost to re-sign everyone would be $47 million. And the money available with some of these cuts would be $37 million. So if they re-signed everybody and didn't cut anyone, they'd be looking at $90 million over the cap, but only $14 million spending over the cap. So you actually could, in a weird way, do this if you wanted. This is something that's on the table. I don't think they do that. I think they end up making a move or two. But again, you're in a situation now where, like, I don't know, I could see them trying to push the can down the road, similar to what we saw with the Saints all those years with Drew Brees, and just say, let's do what we can. And I should mention the cost to re-sign everyone. This is going under the assumption that kind of all the free agents, which it still wasn't everyone, but, the guys I put there would be like a $1 million deal each. That's kind of how I view it. So are the Bills screwed? Is it over for Buffalo? Well, I don't think so. Again, I think they're going to have to make some tough decisions, and I think they could lose some pieces. But again, if you can continue to draft and develop well, which they have done a good job of, that should be fine. That they should still be able to continue to build a competitive roster. Now, can they build a roster to beat Kansas City is the question, and that's kind of why on the podcast I said I do think it's time for a coaching change. Maybe just go for defensive coordinator change. I don't know. And it's nothing to do with Leslie Frazier. It's nothing to do with Sean McDermott. They're great coaches. And, any team would immediately jump on the idea to get Sean McDermott as their head coach, right? Not any team, but a lot of teams would. If you're looking for, if you're a team trying to get a new head coach, you would jump at that opportunity because of what he was able to build the Bills into. At the same time, though, if you're the Bills, your issue isn't you can't figure out a way to become a good team. You are a good team. And, you have Josh Allen. You have the key piece. Your issue at this point is you can't figure out a way to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And that's how they should be focused on, I think, is yes, you want to make sure that you have to beat the other teams as well, right? You can't lose to Cincinnati like they did last year, but again, it's kind of the same thing. When they play the elite quarterbacks in the playoffs, it doesn't tend to go very well. And even when they play the non-elite quarterbacks in the playoffs, sometimes they have to squeak it out, like against Skylar Thompson or the Colts' Phillip Rivers, right? So because of that, I do think that, for me, I don't think it's crazy to decide that it's time for coaching change. And again, it's not to say it's a bad coach, just maybe this isn't the move. This take could very easily end up being very much an age like milk take next year if the Bills win the Super Bowl, and they will have a chance to win the Super Bowl next year with Sean McDermott. But it feels more likely than not right now that they're one of those great teams that isn't quite great enough right now. And the comparison I brought up on the podcast was it's almost like they're the James Harden Rockets, where it's like their greatest accomplishment as of right now is playing the team of that era really tough, right? That's what the James Harden Rockets did, was they played the Warriors tough. That's what they get all the credit for. Right now, the Bills are the team that plays the Chiefs tough. Well, maybe just, again, you kind of got to beat the Chiefs if you're going to get to the Super Bowl. You can't just play them tough. So, again, I don't think it's time to completely panic, but I do think that, I don't know, it might not be crazy to go after a new coach, but that's just how I view it. I don't think they're in a terrible spot. I still think they'll be competitive next year. That's what I think. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.